Jamie Jackson, the Guardian's Manchester correspondent, joins us now. All right, Jamie?
All right, Jamie.
Hiya. How are you doing?
Yeah, right, good, Jamie. I know you was at the City game talking about that one, and we'll touch on that in a bit, but this is obviously a huge game. His future, Ten Hag, is still coming under a lot of scrutiny. Xavi's the next person to be linked. What's going on?
Well, he's living hand to mouth, if you like, from game to game, isn't he? So if he loses this game tomorrow evening at Fenerbahce, which you just sort of trailed some quotes there from Jose, etc., and Eric, then it's West Ham on Sunday, and it's sort of, how long can he go on sort of thing. So he needs to put together, a run of wins, which is, or at least not defeats anyway. I mean, it's just, it's not a Groundhog Day, really. In the first season he was there, obviously they finished third, but the main reason for that was Rashford scoring 30 goals. I mean, I think they've only scored, what is it now? 9 or something. The goal difference is -3 in the league. You just can't score.
Do we know, Jay, what the players are feeling? Do you get the sense that they're still very much with him or not? Because it's hard to tell from the performances. Like, they weren't great against Brentford at the weekend, but they managed to get over the line. I can't work out from the performances whether they're with him or not.
He's a mixed bag, Jay. I think some of them probably feel he's not quite up to it from what I hear. And others, if you're Højlund, for example, who was brought there by Ten Hag, and, you are the number 9, you've got the number 9 shirt this season, so I think he's very proud of you speaking about that after the Brentford game, and you score that goal, that dink goal, and, there's obviously the photograph, the celebration last season, if you remember, with Manu and Garnacho, where they sat on the sort of barricade at the Stretford end. For those sort of 3 players, it's interesting, those 3 players I mentioned, when they were sort of trying to sell players from sort of January onwards last season, those were the 3 that were sort of called untouchables, for the obvious reason that they're young and they're sort of future United and all the rest of it. But I think it is a mixed bag. But I have to say, considering it's a mixed bag, and considering he's always under pressure, he does have a habit of pulling out a win when he needs it. But if you remember, Solskjaer was like that.
He was.
Yeah, when Solskjaer was in charge, it was the same sort of thing. Oh, he's in trouble. I happened to be writing a biography of Solskjaer while that was all going on, and each time he lost, I was thinking, my book's going to stink here, and I was wanting to win just for that. And he kept on doing it, and he ended up finishing second. So, you know what I mean? I'm not saying United are going to finish second, but Ten Hag is very similar. I just can't quite work out. I mean, you asked me a slightly different question. I'm not so sure any of the signings, apart from Yoro, got injured, and basically his second sort of appearance for it, are any good, to be honest. In the summer, I mean.
Do you think he lasts, Ten Hag? Like, there has been loads of talk about it. How long do you genuinely think he'll last?
Well, I mean, if he can, was it 6 or 7 games or whatever it is until the next international break? If he can win enough to survive that, I'd say he's there then until Christmas. And listen, it's football; things could change quickly. But it's just the fact that he didn't sack him last international break, and then Tuchel's gone to England, and Southgate's ruled himself out. Obviously, there's other people out there. You mentioned Xavi there, but they didn't sack him then. They didn't sack him in the summer when they basically talked to everyone you could possibly think of, and loads of other names you'd probably be surprised to hear about. He has got a little bit of sort of cat and nine eyes. Now, on the plus side, he's won 2 trophies, as he likes to remind everyone else. That is good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's the most apart from, obviously, Guardiola at City. But it's just, I don't know. I suppose on Saturday, you sort of maybe saw the difference when they can actually score a goal. I mean, that was a nice finish by Højlund, the winner. Yeah. And that's kind of what they've been missing. And so was the equaliser, actually, the Garnacho volley from Rashford. You actually saw the attack functioning, but it's very, very rare that this is going on.
Yeah. What about Rashford? Again, he stutters. He puts in half a performance. I mean, the cross for the Garnacho goal was exquisite. You see bits and pieces of the player that we saw after the last World Cup. How does he look? Because he never seems to smile, Jay. His body, the demeanour. I don't know. He cuts the figure of someone that looks like there's something going on in his world that we don't know about. Like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Well, I'll tell you a very quick story. So after that sort of 30-goal season on tour, me and a colleague from the Manchester Evening News interviewed Marcus Rashford. It was at San Diego, sort of UCLA site. Beautiful sunshine. He's just signed this bumper contract. I mean, he's the highest paid player there. When they were in the Champions League that season, he was on the thick end of about 450, right? So he's full of the joys of spring. He should be anyway, yes. He's just signed this contract, 30-goal season behind him. And I'm not blaming him for this. I'm just observing a fact. Not one bit of eye contact between him and myself, and it was Tyrone Marshall from the Manchester Evening News during this sort of 10-minute chat. and he just came away from it thinking he's a bit sort of joyless. And as you say, I don't know if that's always been his way. I mean, obviously when he broke into the team, he wasn't like that. Oh, I've sort of been there all through his career. He's from Wythenshawe, right, which is just down the road. Yeah. He's a local lad, made good, playing for a club that he does love. But I think maybe you are seeing signs of him returning. He's got to do it consistently, obviously, but he was the best player, in my opinion, against Brentford. He was really good. Because he's attacking down the left and taking players on and, being that aggressive sort of player that he needs to be. And it's an obvious thing to say, but if he plays well, like as good as he can be, he's probably the best forward there. And then United are a different proposition. So what we've got to see now is, Fenerbahce, West Ham, Leicester game next week. The Carabao Cup will be at that one. Can they just win 3 and win convincingly? And suddenly it looks okay. But it's all a little bit if, buts, maybes. When's it going to happen? How soon is now? And it's been going on basically since the start of last season.
Look, let's just talk about the game against Fenerbahce. Big game for him. Need a result. Obviously, Jose Mourinho, the main man, he's going to be, I'm surely be on the sidelines. It just feels like this one's got fireworks.
Yeah, he loves this sort of thing, didn't he? I mean, it's a hilarious line he came out with today about the old City thing. If they get stripped of their, It's classic Jose.
Yeah.
It's why we absolutely loved him when he was at United. Obviously, from our point of view as journalists, because he'd always give you something, and he just sort of revels in it. He's like Brian Clough to a certain extent. He just knows how to play the whole game. He's always in charge. So when he came out with that line, I was chuckling about it. And yeah, you could just, the stage is set for something to go off. Tomorrow, and as you sort of indicated, I think it was you, Jason. If they were to beat them, I'm not saying get sacked, but it might be Jose starts the beginning of the end for Ten Hag, and
the irony of that.
He's just got a habit of sort of being a factor, hasn't he, Jose? I mean, you can't keep him out of the story. Basically, he is the story. So, I think it's going to be a good watch tomorrow. I mean, Turkey's ideal for Mourinho, I'd say, at this stage of his career, because how can I say it? The football there is quite sort of involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Do you think he makes any changes? Are we going to see a different side? Does he set up differently?
He tends to set up basically the same way. I mean, I just feel, that front three that I'm mentioning, Garnacho, Rashford and Højlund, they played well on Saturday. If he does change that, I will be surprised. And it'll be like, why have you done that sort of thing? Because, you don't want to be doing that when they're actually flying. I mean, if you remember, he took Rashford out of the team. Can't remember which game it was. Was it at Palace after he scored a couple, I think, against Barnsley?
Yeah, very strange decision.
Game? Yeah, so I don't want to see that again from his point of view or United's point of view. And hopefully he won't do that. So, it's going to be a good watch. But they have a habit. I mean, you did it in your trail there. I was at that game, the Porto game. They got 2-0 up, and before they know it, they're 3-2 down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so many games when it's been like that. Galatasaray at home, I think Copenhagen away last season, Champions League when Rashford got sent off, he shouldn't have been, etc., etc. That's kind of what they do in Europe. So even if they go 5-0 up tomorrow, I won't be surprised if they lose 6-5.
The Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Monday to Thursday nights from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.